Hello, everyone. Hello, Robert. Hello, Richard. Welcome to
Hello.
our interview.
I'm her husband.
And we are very excited today, and it's a big honor for us to ask Robert Dilts, the author of Sleight of Mouth book, famous trainer and developer of personal growth and business consulting field. And I wanted to call this interview 43 years of Sleight of Mouth, the
Wow,
history and development.
43 years. Yay.
Like 100 years of solitude, but it's a years of Sleight of Mouth. Is that from when the Bandler's demonstration, or from when Robert then canonized the?
Yeah, Robert, how about that?
the
When everything started, when everything started.
Well, I mean, your 43 years is a good, I think, is a good indicator. I think I would say, 1980, around 1980 is when it started, which is 43 years ago. The seeds for it were kind of planted before then, but I would say in 1980 is when I was actually starting to try to, formalize these patterns and came up with the 14 that exist today.
Has there been any evolution in the patterns and the structure and the ideas? I guess this is kind of leading into the question of the Sleight of Mouth Volume 2, because this is but I'm really interested, because it's like with the Bible, it got written down and that was it, but
Yeah.
with Sleight of Mouth, I think that there is some kind of evolution.
Well, is a good point. What I would say is that, if you take in NLP, you have what's called the meta model, from Structure of Magic 1. And by the way, Sleight of Mouth, the whole idea is that there is a connection to Structure of Magic, right? Because Sleight of Mouth is about magic. But those patterns have really pretty much stayed the same. I think when you identify something fundamental, that stays the same. I think what has evolved is a clearer understanding of how to really define these patterns, how to use these patterns, and to use them in combination. So, sort of looking at this idea of a sleight of mouth strategy. And so, I think what certainly has evolved in these past 43 years is a lot more clarity on what these patterns are, what's the mindset that generates them, and then how we can actually sort of I'm going to say assess whether some sleight of mouth is actually helpful, harmful, is leading towards some more positive outcome or some kind of more confusion. So I think that's part of what has been really evolving, is a better and better understanding of what it is and how to use it, and also how to, let's say, guard against it, guard against the problematic use, because like every other language pattern, sleight of mouth can be used in a really positive, powerful way, and it can be used in a negative way. It's a double-edged sword. But I think it was Sigmund Freud who said, if the knife doesn't cut, neither will it serve the surgeon. So if it doesn't, it's sharp, and so it needs to be used properly. And I think that's what I've been really wanting to develop is, not just, okay, it's a sort of a knee-jerk equation or pattern, but actually that there is a larger process to it and an ecological way to apply it.
Yeah, because if you're looking not at just the battle, but if you're looking at a relationship, you don't want to just win an argument, have the other person feel bad.
Right.
If you're looking, the whole, it's you made that point several times during the first training, that that these are used not to beat people up, and not even to beat people, but to open up possibilities, to show new points of view, and so on. Which,
Absolutely.
excuse me,
Yeah.
I just want to take this moment. I know I'll forget, Robert. Congratulations on the book with Mickey Fair. That
Thank you.
mindset.
Thank you. Yeah.
Congratulations.
That's a big deal.
We love Mickey too, so
Yeah, we really
Yes.
respect him so much.
Yes. Thank
This-
you. And we're very excited about that. And by the way, we saw that we're the actual publication date is the 15th of June, but we're taking pre-orders. And actually, what we saw that last week, it was listed as the #1 new release in general psychology. So that's working. I mean, I don't know how long that lasts, or I don't know exactly how things change so rapidly these days. But anyway, thank you, Richard.
We are going for our viewers who are watching us right now on YouTube. If you look at the description down below of this rolic, you will see direct link to this book on Amazon, right, Robert? So
yes, it's on Amazon. Yes,
everything's on.
And when Sleight of Mouth is going to be released, we are going to add this link to.
Yes, yes, it's almost done. I'm on the last chapter, which is coming back to our thread earlier. I'm really it's a Sleight of Mouth is such an interesting way to map, how we it's not just about arguments, it's about how do we build beliefs, how do we change beliefs. And Richard, I was going to say, kind of going back to this idea of the structure of magic, the thing that attracted me in the very beginning, from the very first moment, to NLP was what Bandler and Grinder said in that book, in The Structure of Magic, which was that the whole purpose of that use of language was to enrich people's map of the world. And if you have a richer map of the world, you have more choices. And they said that when people change, especially when they change for the better, what you see is that their map of the world has somehow, become enriched, and there's more choices available. And I think that's ultimately the same goal as Sleight of Mouth. It's to open up possibilities so that we have more choices. And I think that's what a truly, if we think about the best applications of Sleight of Mouth, it's to sort of, how do we say, it's the magic of it is when suddenly we're able to see that there is something more that's possible, that we have more agency, that there is a better, brighter possibility for us than what we thought.
Right.
Exactly.
And of course the hook, people love, you can easily sell at a seminar which teaches you how to persuade other people, because that's what people want, right? And so they think, oh, Sleight of Mouth, I'm really going to be able to persuade people, I'm going to be able to win arguments. But then when you get beyond that first idea, there's something really much more profound there, which is sharing models of the world, enriching models, with a few words, enabling a person to look at the same thing from a new point of view. And that's learning. That's
exactly.
That's possibilities.
I would like also to ask one very important question, because Sleight of Mouth, it's a tool not only for changing your map and belief system and help other people, it's also a tool for influence in the conversation and in the negotiation. So I would like to ask Robert to make a definition between manipulation and ethic influence, because right now not many people know the difference.
Yes, judging.
So
so there's a whole approach that I call principled persuasion, and the idea of principled persuasion is that, as you said, Oksana, it's an ethical way of using language, and the interesting thing is, a lot of times people manipulate because they're unconscious. They don't even know that that's what they're doing, And so I think one of the things that Sleight of Mouth does a couple of things. One is that it also protects us from being manipulated because we're more aware of these language patterns. But number two, it gives us the opportunity to be able to use them in a principled way. And one of the ways I'm often saying too is that that there's a couple of ways that you can apply sleight of mouth. You can make statements, you can argue, or you can ask questions. So, asking a question is open, it's opening a possibility, and every sleight of mouth pattern has its corresponding question. So I think what happens in manipulation, we know that the basic definition is I am trying to impose my map of the world, impose what I want for me on somebody else. And I'm essentially the beneficiary of it. And it's a kind of a win-lose. Whereas I think when we look at principled persuasion, we're trying to create some kind of a win-win. There doesn't have to be a loser, and I think that's oftentimes when we think about an argument is somebody wins and somebody loses. Whereas that one of the original ways we talked about sleight of mouth was this idea of outframing, reframing, which doesn't mean, okay, you're wrong, I'm right. It's okay, there's a bigger picture here, and maybe a way that we are both right in our own ways, but that then opens up this other possibility that maybe there's also a third way or other ways. So
yeah,
really nice.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And one of the things I'm doing in this next volume, and will be doing in the next, the advanced program, is looking at some of these principles. How can we tell, if you look at the language of something, sometimes it sounds good, but okay, if it's put in an all or nothing framework, if it's put in a problem frame, if there is some kind of somewhere let's call it a negative identity message, we start to realize, okay, that's probably going to be problematic. It doesn't have to mean it's good or bad or right or wrong, but it's possibly problematic. And so let's filter that. Let's rephrase it, reframe it. And I think that's going to be a big part of what we do. Is you can be extremely powerful, but in a positive way. It doesn't have to mean that you're making everybody else lose because you're the winner.
Exactly.
I'm sure together to both volumes, the base of in the volume 1 and this one with the principle of influence, effectiveness, and ethic together, they will be just complement each other.
That's really the next level. The whole ethical, the use and then ultimately, what is the purpose? If we're not using them to win an argument, that opens up a lot of more interesting possibilities.
Well, in fact, that's such a good point, Richard, because I think what has happened in whether you use sleight of mouth, whether people know about sleight of mouth or not, or they use it consciously or intentionally, what has happened more and more, and we see it in I see it. You see it in politics, but you also see it in academic conversations. You have this divisiveness. There's blame put on others. There's things are put in this structure, which is creating more and more distance and divisiveness between people. And I think that is certainly not the nature of sleight of mouth. Sleight of mouth is about magic. It's about being able to transform our perception into something, more into something new. And by the way, in the book, I'm showing, I'm using certain examples where I'm saying, okay, yeah, of course you can use sleight of mouth to turn, to turn a crowd, around. But you can also use it to explore something. The way that Socrates, for example, used sleight of mouth he wasn't trying to win an argument. He was trying to explore how to become more and more, to more deeply understand something rather than just have a superficial understanding of it. And so sleight of mouth can actually take you deeper and deeper into a better understanding of something, as opposed to just a kind of a right and wrong. Actually, even one of the quotes in this book is from Niels Bohr, the famous physicist, where he says, it's only in superficial truths that the opposite is actually false. He says in the deeper truths, opposites are also true in their way. And so sometimes sleight of mouth leads us to be able to find these deeper truths by holding them, but within a what we would call a more intelligent field rather than what we might call a coach field rather than a crash field, or something like that.
I think for me, sleight of mouth was really useful in focusing my attention in a rigorous way on the art of framing. I've always intuitively done it, trying to survive, but I've always been keenly aware of how the other person perceives my communication, and orienting to the other person until I could finally get the message through.
Right.
But I never thought about it, and there was never any rigorous examination. So for me, the sleight of mouth has been really really an investigation into the art of framing. I know that sounds, it's almost a topic. It's nothing new there, but so valuable for me, because I think that's the art of communication for me, is the art of framing, really.
Exactly.
Amen. Exactly. I agree with that. And I also started to use, after workshop Robert taught in February, I also started to use for not only for in coaching, working with people, but also for myself, to look at the situation from different perspectives. It's really powerful. I mean, it expands your perception instead of doing this narrow point.
Yes. And I think that is for me, that's the ultimate goal of all of NLP. It's how do we enrich our maps in a way that allows us to have, in the one hand, greater consciousness, and on the other hand, through that, greater agency in our world. And we need it today. We need it today. We need to sort of get outside of some of those old boxes. And I think that's the framing idea, Richard, so we can get outside of that and, again, have a bigger perspective. I think that's ultimately the gift of sleight of mouth.
Oh, what an excellent summation.
Thank you very much, Robert.
You're very welcome. I'm looking forward to this, looking forward to our advanced seminar for everybody. And I think it's going to be the next level. We're taking sleight of mouth to the next level.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you,
You're
Robert,
welcome.
very much.
Okay.
We are looking forward to volume 2, and for all beautiful work you're going to give people on this planet, and let you live long, live, and prosper. I hope it's correct English.
It's great. You're live long and prosper. I think that's Klingon or something. But anyway, what you're doing is really, really, really important, Robert, and it's such an honor to support you. We really think this is a message people need to hear.
Yeah. And now is the time. I think it's very timely. That's what you're saying. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So let's be in touch.
Yes, we'll be in touch, and I'll say goodbye to everybody, our viewers.
Goodbye, viewers.
Bye, viewers.
Bye, Robert.
Bye, Robert.
Bye.